I share a view held by my next guest, who is the writer and director of an interesting documentary. He's been with us before. This is, I think, his third appearance on the program. The documentary is entitled UFOs, Angels and Gods, which attempts, I think quite successfully, it succeeds, in other words, to draw a connection between the accounts of flying beings from the Bible and the UFO phenomenon of today, the identity of UFOs. Siadatan is with us once again here on the Richard Syrett Show, News Talk 1010 CFRB. Hello, Ali.
Hello, Richard.
Okay, this is, by my count, your third trip to the program, and we're going to sort of move things up to sort of the modern era. Again, we're drawing connections between accounts of flying beings from the Bible and what's going on today. As I was sort of moving towards, you and I both believe that UFOs essentially are demons. They are fallen angels, correct?
That's correct. The angels of God are here with us as well, but the majority of the UFO phenomenon, as it's witnessed by people, I would say, falls in the fallen angel category. Okay,
and tonight we're going to sort of, as I say, move things ahead to 1948 is a significant date. 47, 48. Of course, we have the 60th anniversary of Roswell in 1947, July of 47. The alleged crash of a UFO on a ranch or several ranches in New Mexico. In 1948, we have the rebirth of the state, the modern state of Israel. And I've always wondered whether or not there was a connection, a resurgence in UFO activity and the rebirth of the modern state of Israel. Ali, your thoughts?
Well, it depends on the worldview that you embrace. If you follow the prophetic writings of the Bible that point to the fact that after a long dispersion, the Jews are to be regathered to the Promised Land and form a state again, in anticipation of very important events to follow, culminating in the second coming of Christ, then of course that's a very important event that in our life we've witnessed the existence of this state, and that it has become the center of world politics since it's come back. It really, the foreign policy of countries revolves around, which side to stand with, who are they selling weapons to, the Muslim countries or Israel. It's a very important reality of our world. It's on the news every day. And it just so happens that since 1947, 1948, we have been experiencing UFO waves, which is mass appearances of UFOs in different regions of the world, depending on the year, the decade you're looking at. But by now it's a global phenomenon. All continents, all nations now fall within the scope of this UFO wave. And is there a connection between these two things? Well, if you take the view that these UFOs are part of the angelic reality and that there is a cosmic battle happening, then yes, there is a connection.
Siadatan is the writer-director of UFOs, Angels and Gods. We're talking about the connection between accounts of flying beings in the Bible and what's going on the world stage today. And if, again, we consider that, or we believe that UFOs, in fact, are false, we have to ask ourselves whether or not they are, in fact, more than just observers, as some ufologists believe, that we are simply being observed by these extraterrestrials. Ali, I'm guessing that you think it's much more sinister than that. They are actually players or participants on the world stage.
Absolutely. Even if you want to take a completely secular perspective coming from a ufologist, you cannot dismiss the abduction phenomenon, which is a very significant part of the UFO phenomenon. In fact, Professor Jacobs from Temple University, perhaps the world's foremost researcher, believes that it is the heart of the UFO phenomenon at this stage, that the abduction and, as strange as it may sound, the breeding program, in the sense that there's a commingling of their genes and hybrids are being created, that is in fact the very heart of the UFO phenomenon.
Okay, we'll definitely get back to the human-alien hybrid phenomenon as well over the next hour or so. But back to the creation of the modern state of Israel, 1948, the waves of UFO sightings that occurred at that time. What is the connection?
Okay, the connection, what we experienced starting in 1947, 1948, is these UFO waves, and I've kind of dug up some statistics for you here, and it goes like this. You've got 1947 USA. It starts with Kenneth Arnold, who comes forward with his UFO sighting, a businessman of great integrity, a pilot. He sees these flying things on the Cascade Mountains in Washington, and then when he reports that, he comes out of his plane, and there are journalists waiting for him and he explains what he saw. He calculates the speed. It's too high for anything that the aviation industry had at that time. And when they ask him how it looked like, he says, well, it looked like saucers skipping over water. And so is born the term flying saucers. But in the days that follow Kenneth Arnold, in the months that follow, thousands of Americans come out with similar accounts of sighting, but it took someone of his integrity to give people the courage to speak without feeling ridiculed. And if you come down from 1947 onwards, 1950, UFO waves over South America, 1952, again, Eastern USA, France, 1954, Japan, 58, Papua New Guinea, 59, New Zealand, 1960, Brazil, 62.
Ali Siadatan is the writer-director of a most fascinating documentary from Think Again Productions entitled UFOs, Angels and Gods. He's been with us before. We're continuing along in our discussions, and that being the connection between accounts of flying beings in the Bible and what is going on in the world stage today, and linking that up with the UFO phenomenon. And to recap, right now discussing the connection, if any, between the resurgence of UFO sightings beginning in around 1947 and also the creation of the modern state of Israel.
So, the one connection that one could draw is, if in fact these UFOs are the fallen angels, then, and if it's God's will to bring back the Jewish people to this land in anticipation of greater events, then one could present the argument that this is the fallen angels under the leadership of Satan taking the last stance in this great cosmic war, kind of buckling down, because it's happening now, and the earth is where it's happening, and this could be stance of the fallen angels in anticipation of the final battle.
Could it also be, I think we're probably saying the same thing, but I'm wondering if it has also to do with biblical prophecy, where the second coming cannot happen until the creation of the state of Israel, with, again, the Jewish people coming together once again. That followed by the construction of the third temple.
Right.
That followed, of course, by eventually the second coming. So in order to forestall the arrival of the second coming and the saving of mankind, because obviously the fallen angels don't want that to happen, in order to prevent the second coming, first they have to prevent the creation of the modern state of Israel.
Well, I think that's what Hitler was all about. And that, in 1917, when the British Parliament, with the Balfour Declaration, gave a piece of the land, which at that point was under British, to Jewish people to settle in, it caused a lot of problems for them. In 1922, we had the White Papers, where it was said, okay, stop immigration to the land while we can think about this. And while they were thinking about it, Hitler came to power and the Holocaust happened, which that I see as Satan's attempt to preventing the return of the Jewish people to the land.